talking to friends, but you're like standing behind. I mean, prison. Okay, this is good. All right. We're good. All right. Hi, I'm Miley Oye. I'm from California. I work in Mountain View with Search. And let's see what else do I want to say. I've been at Google for a while, since 2005 or 6, something like that. Here to talk about authorship. What I want to do, though, on this authorship panel is not just make it about authorship, but actually bring us a level up to talk about identity. Because when you start to begin to do this within your companies, I think it's not just the argument you want to make about authorship being important, but it's a larger concept about identity, as you guys know, reputation, and then we'll move into some other concepts as well. So, identity to authorship. There we go. Okay, I don't need to go that way. All right, so first we'll talk about the background on identity and authorship. Then the status of authorship right now at Google. Next, how authorship helps searchers. Claiming your identity and authorship. And last, best practices. Okay, so of course we all know the background of traditional PageRank is about links. So it has to do with quality and quantity of links. So Site A has some internal links, also links to Site B, etc. This is kind of the faceless web built of links. Now, when it comes to profiles and identity, things get a little more interesting. You have now a faceful web. You still have things like your website, but now with different articles, you can actually start to link to profiles, and those profiles are about people. So now it's not just a web of links, it's a web of people as well. You can see how this starts to get a lot richer. So when it comes from identity to authorship, what we're talking about is identities, whether that's on Stack Overflow, which is a great gamification site, Twitter, Google+, and the reason why we focus on Google+ at Google is because, for the most part, a lot of identity and profile information is kind of behind a wall or there's some type of login. But when it comes to Google+, obviously that's our identity management system. It's information we know about, we have access to. So that's what we're starting with now. So know that a lot of the stuff I talk about comes to Google+, but that is because it's our identity management system. And it's not that, and you'll see this as we talk more, it's not that this markup couldn't be extended even further. So this is the way that kind of identity can grow throughout the web. As many of you know, Google I/O is a conference actually I usually speak at. My team throws this developer conference in San Francisco. And there's going to be even bigger stuff going on there, also tied to identity, and can have impact on authorship too. So it's all getting exciting. But here, right now we're in London. So identities, all this stuff, these sites where you have profiles and people know about you and your expertise. Add that to some of these people with identities are going to create content. And at that point, when you have identities creating content, you have authorship. So obviously not every single person on the web has to be an author. But you can see that once we have the identities and once we tie that to people who write content, we now can get to authorship. So please don't think about authorship just kind of siloed into one. It's actually part of a much larger concept of identity. And you can take this even a step further toward your company's reputation. So right now, authorship is bound to individuals, not corporations. But you can imagine how this could go even bigger as identity is only going to become kind of a bigger priority for people on the web. So this is important. It's extremely important because what it does is it gives you as a searcher, it gives you as anyone on the web, the ability to understand people's credibility and to purport your own reputation of credibility. So before, don't do it this side this time, so I'm not favoring one side. Okay. So before we just have these boxes of websites in your company's website and those links, right, those kind of shaded boxes. Now, with authorship and identity, your company can have a Google+ page, an article can have an author, and then whoever wrote the author, like Othar, can have people who follow him, and they have people who follow them. And now we've tied in not just a web of links, but a web of all these people and relationships and meaning. Fabulous. So this is how all that credibility is now coming into account. Just individual links before, different pages filled with content, and now we've tied this kind of unstructured text to more relationships. And this is where we're going to gain credibility. So this doesn't come out very well, but authorship coverage is about 5x since it launched in April 2012, something like that. This is total impressions that have authorship in them. So you can just see the growth is expanding. Meaning that if you're thinking about starting kind of an identity within people in your company and thinking about authorship, the trajectory is going higher. And again, with the also kind of on that bandwagon of identity, it's going to keep growing. Within Google, more on status. There's 50 plus ranking experiments that we've done. There's obviously a lot more in progress. We have more than 5 teams who specifically use authorship data in what they're working on. So if you need any more proof that this is a good investment, there's more. So let's talk about how it helps searchers. And the reason why we bring this up is because I think a lot of times at conferences we get tied into how does this help my business or whatever, but the biggest goal is you're trying to help users out there, right? I mean, that's kind of, if you can help users, then it's going to help everything. So, first of all, credibility, as we talked about. It provides visible reputation about content creators. So Danny Sullivan has over 1 million people in his Google Plus circles. It also helps searchers because it informs social search. So you can highlight the content, we can highlight content you find relevant, and we can personalize results. Because now we know more about your identity than just your location. We know what you're interested in. So you can see for personalized results, there's a little person icon, like a head and shoulders, for the results that are inserted there because it's been personalized. So the third part I want to highlight is that it helps disambiguate and refine people searching. Kind of interesting. So Danny Sullivan, right? He's a race car driver, apparently. I don't follow a lot of race car stuff. But he's also first from search engine land, so not logged in. I do a search for Danny Sullivan, and the knowledge panel appears, and there's 2 Danny Sullivans, because they don't really know who am I searching for. Is it search engine land Danny Sullivan, or is the race Formula 1 driver Danny Sullivan? And they're not that different looking, actually. But they're 2 different people. But when I'm logged in, which is the bottom one, which many of you can't see, it actually didn't even prompt me with the right Danny Sullivan, right? Because it knows that I follow search stuff. So again, personalized results, people disambiguation. All right, so how do you get involved in this whole identity world within Google and authorship? How do you get started? And I'm sure many of you know this because you read different blog posts or help center articles. But essentially, it comes down to an email verification or a handshake with your content. So the handshake means like, 2 people, right, handshaking. Okay, I did it by myself, but you can imagine that's 2 people. So if you do email verification, that essentially is saying, I belong to this company. I write for Wired.com, and my email address can be confirmed with having a Wired.com domain. Or if you don't want to do that, it's the simplest. If you don't do that, you can use rel author with a rel contributor. Again, that's the handshake. So the article says rel author this way. The profile says rel contributor this way, and they're shaking hands. Or you can use rel author to a profile on Wired, say, and then that can have a rel me to Google Plus profile. So again, kind of creating double handshakes. The key about this, and this is the same thing you see when we talk about hreflang for different languages, when we talk about developing a smartphone site, it's that bidirectionality. It essentially is saying, in the same way, this profile corresponds to this article. There's that bidirectional. And it's the same way with smartphone sites. You say this mobile page corresponds to this desktop page. There's all this. So it's the same type of technique you see everywhere. So it seems perhaps a little confusing at first. Why do I need both? The reason why is so that someone else doesn't hijack your content or doesn't claim that you wrote something that was total crap, right? Because this way you're confirming on both sides. So essentially what it comes down to, and this is what is at the bottom, is kind of how we look at it within our systems, is that your profile is kind of creating a person node, whether it's your profile Google Plus or someplace else. And within that person node, you have all these different edges that kind of are articles that you wrote or different other profiles you have on the web. So I might have a Google Plus profile. I might have a Twitter profile. I might have something on YouTube. And so this is all kind of within this cluster of the person Miley-Oye. So now I've created this cluster, and that has these different edges, bidirectional edges of article A, article B, article C, of different things I've written. Or in the past I've written to things. So you can see the same way that we talk about content on the web and duplicate content, right? And they create a cluster, and then we have to figure out what's the canonical. What you're doing with authorship and identity is creating your own cluster. And then all these different nodes, these edges of articles you've written and of the stuff that you enjoy, the people that you know.